Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Hashem Yahushai, Hashem Wadash, and I want to say Shalom to Yaakov Nakwat out there pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. And this one's coming from the Apostles' comment board, the Apostle Gabar, to be specific. His page is Daily Edification 4. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do so. And I was watching this lesson today that he put out, and it was actually put out 9 days ago, but you know how it is with the YouTube home, your home screen. It recommends videos that even though the brothers and apostles have new videos out, they'll recommend you things that are like 9 days old, which is fine, because, I mean, there's still plenty of edification to be had, right? But I thought it was a new video when I clicked on it, but it was not. Anyway, I was watching this, and again, this one was titled, if you want to go and watch it, it was titled, "It's All About Getting the Populace to Become a New World Order Digital Slave." And of course, the title gives it all away. He was dealing with the New World Order and basically the goal, all right, of these Edomites and their, how did he refer to it? What did he refer to it as? I took notes. As the, 1 minute. He referred to it as, and he said he's going to start referring to it as that. What is it? It's the machine. All right, the machine. All right, people that are part of the machine. And he was talking about, people, just some notes that I took. Basically, Esau's end goal, despite the theatrics, all right, and all of their, stuff that they're doing, it's just to get everybody chipped, all right, the mark of the beast. People like David Icke and Alex Jones, all those people are part of the machine. But the Lord causes them, their tongue to fall upon themselves, as is mentioned in Psalms 64 and 7, because, sometimes these people, just in the Apostles' word, get disgruntled, all right? They get disgruntled, and when they get disgruntled, they go and do things like become whistleblowers, all right? And then, of course, once they become whistleblowers, the Lord allows their tongue to fall upon themselves, but, of course, Esau being Esau, usually those whistleblowers go missing, right? They, unfortunately die of a heart attack or falling out of a window or a drug overdose or hanging themselves or, any of these things. They're the devil, right? So that's what the lesson's about. I recommend, going and watching it. But there was a individual upon this comment board whose handle, and I don't know if it's their real name or if it's not, but their handle is Howard Ricketts III, right? And they added the feature, I think it used to be on phone, but now if you click, all right, on an individual's, profile picture, it'll show you either on the left or the right, wherever it decides to pop up. Sometimes, I don't know why it chooses certain sides, but it'll show you all of the comments that are on this channel. And this is a good thing to use to find orderly brothers and sisters, as well as to find ones that are being disorderly, because sometimes you'll see someone say something, you'll be like, what that didn't seem quite right. What's this guy's thought pattern? And sometimes you'll just go on their page, and sometimes they'll have some video that's, calling out the apostles or doing something evil. Or sometimes they'll, be a normal individual that just made a really dumb comment and, keep an eye on them. But I wanted to see, more about this individual here. Not that they were anything wicked, but, their mindset, right? They haven't done anything wicked at all. This isn't a video, berating them. They're perfectly fine. But they seem to have an identity issue, okay? Which I'm an individual. See, I'm an individual. They have the opposite, right? Now, he calls himself a black Edomite, okay? So he's saying he's black. All right, but his father is a white guy, or even if his father is a black-looking guy, that he goes back to Esau, or however it be. More than likely, this guy has a white father, because on another, I did a little bit of deep diving, and on one of the other channels, he mentioned that he has a black mother, a Jake mother, but his father's white. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're an Edomite, all right? For example, I look white, all right? My father looks white. His father looks white. Sometimes they can look a little brownish, right? But if you trace our bloodline, our lineage, we go back to Scotland, okay? We go back to Scotland, because how did I find that out? Because my dad recently Because for a while we thought we could potentially be Mexican or whatever. If you look at my old lessons, it's I'm Mexican or whatever. But I knew I wasn't Northern Kingdom. All right, Northern Kingdom was first, of course, referring to the Latinos and Native Americans. And I knew I was Southern Kingdom of some variety, so-called, black as they would be called today. Whether you're Islander, American Black, or Haitian, right? And despite what I look like, all right, because I get along better with Southern Kingdom. All right, I've always had, beef. They've more so had beef with me. We've had beef with each other with Northern Kingdom. And if you know about the scriptures, Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom don't get along quite so well all the time. All right, not that there's anything wrong with the beloved brothers that are in this truth. I'm just talking about outside. I've had more beef with Northern Kingdom than I've ever had Southern Kingdom. Right, Southern Kingdom, I usually kick it off and we're cool. They see my skin color and they're, as they should be, initially standoffish. All right, but then I say something like, oh man, this guy's cool as hell. All right, whatever, cool. We'll talk. All right, and that just shows that's that speckled birdism, right? That's that speckled birdism. They can deny what you look like, but you can't deny the spirit, man. Okay, there's times where I've been talking to a so-called, white-looking individual that you would initially think would be an Edomite, and, they start making points, start making sense, they got a little bit of flavor, they got a little bit of sauce, you're cool, and you say, man, that's a cool-ass white guy, right? And then you think, well, this guy probably more than likely not an Edomite, okay? Because Edomites are very easily able to be told, and sometimes not easy to tell as others are, right? Now, I read through your whole thing. We're going to, go into it. All right. Again, this lesson's through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. I made it specifically for you, Howard Ricketts, because I saw your page, saw your comments across the Apostles board, and we got some things through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua we need to knock right out. Right. I don't think you're an Edomite. All right. And again, that's a matter of my opinion. But going off what you said right here, let's just read, all right? We'll let the Spirit do it. I don't need to try to say you're an Edomite or not. Let's just show you, and we'll get some scriptures. But I don't think you're an Edomite, and here's why. I'm going to read your comment. It says, I'm really going to miss the teachings of the elder and apostles of GMS once they change the internet. And I'm saying this as a black Edomite, but I still admit the truth. Well, here's the thing. You couldn't be a black Edomite. You'd have to be an Israelite, because an Edomite would never admit the truth, all right? You're just severely misled right now. You don't really know what's going on. All right, you don't really have a good understanding of the truth. All right, and that's fine. All right, you're more than likely a new believer of some variety, and that's okay. All right, it's okay to not know at first. All right, it's not a crime at first to not know, but you do have to come into knowing. Okay, so the first precept I want to get, you said, and I'm saying this as an Edomite, but I still admit the truth. Now, you couldn't be an Edomite if you're admitting the truth. That's one of the things Edomites do not do. Okay, let's go and get it. This is going to be Job 13 and verse 4. And this is speaking of the Edomites. All right, we're actually going to get it in the Good News Translation as well. But first, we're going to get it in the King James Version here on the left. It says, but ye are forgers of lies. Okay, now someone who was a forger, all right, and I don't know how much you know or how much you don't know, so I'm going to treat it, as milk. All right, not forget, but forger. All right, a forger, all right. Here, right here. Right here. A forger, okay? One who forges metals. And what is forging, all right? It means a workshop where wrought iron is produced or where iron is made malleable. Okay, it's like a blacksmith. They have a hammer and they hammer it out and they make swords, they make doorknobs, they make door hinges and nails and all sorts of different things, right? Well, that's their workshop, a forge, and they are a forger or a smith. A lot of the time they get called smith, but they are a forger. They are one who forges, okay? And what are they forging? Forge ultimately means to create, so they are creating. If you're a forger, you're a creator of. If you're a forger of steel, you create, or if you're a forger of weapons or weaponry, you make weaponry. If you're a forger of door handles, you make door handles, right? Now, going back here, it actually says it in the Merriam-Webster. It says, number 2, a person who falsifies, all right, a creator of false tales, all right, of falsities, things that are fake, all right, aka lies, a lie. So if we go back, it says directly that they're forgers of lies. So what if they're a forger? That means what? They're a maker, all right, of what? Lies. They are a maker of lies. It says, but ye are forgers of lies, ye are all physicians of no value. Okay, so not only are they forgers of lies, they're not good medical practitioners. They fucking suck. All right, they're bad at it. They can't do it. Okay, so you said, I'm going to really miss the teachings of the elders and apostles of GMS. First of all, there's a big sign right there, right? Because one of their biggest goals, a matter of fact, if you were just watching this, okay, they want the truth to, you were on the video, so I assume you watched it, you know, the plans of these big elite, all right, and their system, all right, the machine, all right, I almost said the mechanist, the machine, all right, all these people that are part of the machine, whether they're, you know, lesser luminaries, which are, you know, part of the, you know, you have the illuminaries, the Illuminati, all right, which are the, you know, bigling baking families, all right, the, you know, the 13-ish families, all right, 1948er families, all right, and then you have their lackeys, the, you know, the people that watch after them and take care of them and stuff like that. Well, that's actually one step under. You know, below that you have, you know, people like Donald Trump, all right, people like Alex Jones, all right, and so on and so forth. And then you have people under that, you know, and some of those people, Alex Jones and them, are actually, you know, some of those people behind scenes are actually, you know, wiping these old, you know, Amalekites' ass and stuff, man. Some of these people, I'm not saying them specifically, but they keep their stuff really locked down. And usually you have to be born into a family to be able to even get close to them. Not necessarily a Rothschild family, but a family that's been servants of them for generations, right? So anyway, they're trying to get, if you watch the lesson, they're trying to get this whole New World Order and trying to, you know, get everybody enslaved, basically be a slave, and they don't like that the truth is going out. Really, they want to stop the truth from going out, but they can't because they don't have the power, because Yahweh Shem Shai controls all, right? So by you saying, I'm going to miss the teachings of the elders and apostles of GMS, well, you couldn't be an Edomite if you really are, in truth and sincerity, going to miss the teachings. Because these guys, you know, these people that are being talked about in this lesson, they're not going to miss it. They want it gone, man. They want us to shut the fuck up. Not that I'm an elder apostle. I'm a follower of GMS, right? And most importantly, a follower of Yahweh Shem Shai. But GMS is the one who's, you know, they're the true followers of Yahweh Shem Shai. They do everything accordingly, all right? As you would know if you're a follower of Great Millstone as well, okay? Really, being a follower of a Great Millstone is being a follower of Yahweh Shem Shai, because you can't be a follower of IUIC or one of the other camps and be a follower of Yahweh Shem Shai when the other camps don't even call on the names, or they're teaching wrong things, right? Because just putting that out there, because people say, oh, a follower of GMS and not Yahweh Shai. No, we're both, all right? Because if you're a follower of Yahweh Shem Shai, you're going to have apostles, because the Lord gave apostles. And who are the true apostles? Who are the true teachers? It's not IUIC, it's GMS, right? So boom, boom, hand in hand. So if you're truly in all sincerity going to miss the teachings of Great Millstone, you couldn't be an Edomite. There's number one, because those people aren't going to miss it. They want all the brothers that are teaching this truth, they want us fucking dead, man. Dead. D-E-A-D, dead. They want our head in a fucking guillotine, man, or around or in a noose, right? They don't want us teaching anything, okay? So it says, and I'm saying this is a black Edomite, which again, I don't think that you are. I think that you're just a Jake that is, you know, severely misled because the outward appearance of your father or the actions of your father, which mean very little in all. You know, the apostle, I believe it was Apostle Tahar, actually put out I won't say it was a decree, all right, but it was a lesson a year or so ago. One of the brothers, I'm not going to put him on blast because, of course, he was corrected. But a brother, you know, an elder was saying, oh, you know, this person is an Edomite. And I've even been guilty. I'll throw myself in it. The brother's not the, you know, that elder was not the only one that's guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. And a lot of us are guilty of that. And that lesson wasn't just getting on that elder. He was getting on anybody with that mindset. Anyway, there was a individual that drove through a crowd, I think, killing a couple Jakes or, you know, something along those lines, right? And, or were attempting to kill. Or, for example, say if you have someone, you know, that was the example, I think. It's been a while. I think that was the example. But we'll just use another example, right? And this isn't exactly what the apostle, you know, mentioned, but I'll give something that's according to, you know, what the apostle will talk about. Say you had someone that came up to a camp with a gun Okay, and you should know what camp is. When the brothers are out in the highways and byways. Say if you had someone come up to one of the camps with a gun and point it at the brothers or the apostles or the elders and say, "I don't like what you guys are talking. I ought to blow you away," right? Say they did that. Does that make him an Edomite immediately? No, because Jake is rash like that. All right, Jake is a hardhead and an idiot like that. Right? There were prophet killers that weren't necessarily just Edomites. Okay, so what the apostle was saying in that lesson that he put out, all right, was that, look, if you have someone that's against the truth or tries to attack Jake or kills a bunch of Jake people, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, that doesn't necessarily mean they're an Edomite, because Jake is fucked up too. Right? Jake is messed up. Jake half the time, mind you, when Yahushua was sent, he was sent, let's go and get that scripture. Right, this is Matthew 15 and 24. This is Yahushua speaking. But he answered and said, "I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel." So the lost sheep of the house of Israel is dealing with those foreigners, all right, that were called Gentiles. You have two different types of Gentiles. Again, speaking from a position that I don't know how much you know or don't know. It doesn't seem like you know a lot. No offense. All right, I'm not saying it as an insult. It doesn't seem like you know a lot because of this part, and that's okay. All right, but through spirit and power of Yahweh Shemiao Shai, maybe you can get learned up, right? So where was I here? There I was. The Lord said that he was okay. So the Gentiles, you have two different Gentiles. Excuse me. You have the Gentiles that are heathens, the heathen nations, ones like Edomites, all right, and those that are not of Israel, right? So those are the Gentiles. And then you have the other group of Gentiles, which are Israelite foreigners, all right? They are Israelites by blood, but they were scattered abroad, okay? They were scattered abroad or sifted amongst the nations, right, as we're going to get. Sifted amongst the nation. When you're sifted amongst the nations, all right, you're going to end up like me, okay? I'll show you what I look like. Now, I don't look like a Jake, as you can see. All right, I just look like a regular white-looking guy, right? Now, you're going to end up like me with white-looking features, right? With a white-looking nose, right? With white-looking lips, all right? Sometimes you'll end up looking like you used to look, but your mindset's fucked up, okay? So either way, if you look like me or you don't look like me, if you're a Gentile that's been scattered abroad, your mindset, biblically, as it was in the Bible, their mindsets were fucked up, all right? Because they were dwelling amongst the heathen. They didn't know necessarily that they were Israelites, right? They didn't know. Yahushua had to go and, get the lost sheep. They were lost sheep. They didn't know. They didn't even know they were sheep in the first place. They thought they were Romans or Ephesians or something. They thought they were something, right? Not Israelites. And they're going to keep the same customs. They're going to keep Saturnalia. They're going to keep, all these different Yoister. All right. They're going to keep all these different pagan holidays. They're going to be worshiping pagan gods. They're going to be doing the customs. All right. If everybody out in the land of Wakaluka, all right, is hopping on one foot and going Wakaluka, Wakalakaluka. All right. If they're dwelling in that land, which is of course just a made-up land, all right, then they're going to be hopping on one foot going Wakalakaluka. They're not Wakalakalukians. Right? But they think they are, and they're going to be acting like it, right? So say you have this father of yours that you say is an Edomite. He's more than likely been around Edomites. He's more than likely grown up around Edomites, okay? His father might have even grown up around Edomites. At some point, your seed line got a little fucked up, all right? And it's happened with mine too, brother, all right? It's happened with mine too, all right? My dad doesn't think he's a Jake. All right, his dad goes hunting. All right, listens to honky tonk music and everything. But look, either it's a couple things. Either that's not my dad, all right, and it's some other man out there, and my mom's hiding that deep from me, or my dad's a Jake, which he would have to be if I am. All right, because if you're a Jake, your father's a Jake, and if your father's a Jake, his father's a Jake, because it goes through your paternal lineage, going back to Jacob, right? Regardless of how they act. Now, like I said, if my dad is my dad and his dad is my grandfather, you would think they're Edomites. Okay? Now, there's certain things that peer through with my dad that are Jake, right? But you'd really have to be around him constantly to see it, right? But a lot of this stuff, look, he lives in a small town with a population of about maybe 400 or 500 people. They're all Edomites. They don't like black people there. They don't like Mexican people there. They don't like the Peruvian people that happen to be there, right? So, and he's with an Edomite woman, all right? Because, again, my dad thinks that he's just a white guy when he's not. All right, because he has an identity crisis because, again, he only found his dad out not too long ago. His mom wasn't in the picture. Again, not to blow up his information, not dishonor my father purposely. I'm just saying, he's having an identity crisis. He doesn't really know who he is. He only grew up really around white people. He only knows white people things. He that's what he does. All right. But me, again, you can break that mold. Me, since I was a kid, I have a cousin. And my cousin, Skyler, hell, I'll just say his name, whatever. He's prison and all over the goddamn place anyway. He, is a black man, right? My aunt got with a black man, all right, and that's his son, all right, and her son. But, of course, he immediately, just took off. He tried to come back, but, the mom... she might be a Jake too. We don't even know. That other side of that family might even be Jake. I think they could be Gadites, but we don't know. Anyway, that's, again, but they look like darker skinned white people. Or maybe like Romani. We don't know. We don't know. Anyway, and it's besides the point because they're not my bloodline. But I grew up around them, all right? But it's my dad's half relatives, half sisters, half brothers, right? Same mom, different dads. So I'm not really even related to them at all. They're not kin, but I grew up with them, so they're treated like kin. They're that's how it goes. But yeah, man. But where was I going with the point? My dad, all right, growing up the way that he's grown up, yeah, that's what I was saying. Me, I'm going back to me. Slack you. My cousin, all right, Skylar that I mentioned as a black man, he, through the struggles. All right, when we were really little, he didn't want to be black. All right, so we came up with the idea when we were like 6 that we were going to trade skin colors. Okay, because I said, I was like, I want to be black. All right, but he's like, I don't want to be. All right, again, because all he was hanging around was white people. Again, I was around mostly white people, but I don't know why I said what I said. I mean, looking back, there was a lot of signs. My first little girlfriend ever, and I actually dated her later in life. All right, didn't go well. All right, but she was black. All right, my first girlfriend and little girlfriend, when you're in first grade, I remember her name still, Gabby, right? She was black. And then my first real friend, all right, Jamal, he was black. And then I didn't really have too many friends all growing up because I was kind of a weird kid and I kind of just drew a lot. And then later on in like 3rd or 4th grade, my second best friend was Javon, all right? Javon, I still remember his last name too. I could say it if I wanted to because there's like a million, of his name out there, but, and, up, and then I like, all the whole time, of course, like black girls, all right, so, here it was, and then, I was really big in the crunk scene when I was like, 8, all right, I was obsessed with Soulja Boy. I wanted to get the glasses, the fitted hats, the snapbacks, the big ass shoes, and oversized clothing and shit. So I mean, looking back, there was signs. And then even as a teenager, wanting to rap and sell dope and do dumb shit. I mean, there was Jake culture, which is really the culture that was really thrown on us by Esau. But Jake's the one that gets entwined in it and entranced in it. There was signs. My dad never had those signs. Okay, I kind of broke the mold. Now, why is that? I don't know. I have no idea. All right, it's all through How About Meow Shy. But my dad never did break that mold. He never did. All right, he grew up in these small towns. I hated growing up in small towns. I wanted to live in the city. I do. All right. But when I was young, I didn't. He's still in a small town. I live in a big city now. All right, and he hates the big city, so he likes staying around like the Edomite people. So if you met this man and talked to him, and his wife was all into Trump, so of course my dad jumped onto the Trump bandwagon. They're not anymore, but a couple of years ago. So you would have saw this guy would make America great again and Trump this, Trump that, and living in a all white town and all this. And you would have think this guy's an Edomite. All right. Hell, it's so much so that sometimes I'm like, is this guy even my father? Right? Is there some other guy that I don't know about? Right? And my mom's just really good at keeping it in my. I don't think my mom's technically the type, but It's like that sometimes. I'm like, I don't even know, man. It's times I'm like, man, that grandfather doesn't even seem nothing like me. That doesn't seem like anything like a Jake. Doesn't seem like he'd really be interested in, people from the city or Jake people or whatever. But I mean, he's seen my wife. My wife's a so-called black woman. He hasn't had no issue, right? He's only seen her over a phone because I've never actually met the guy because he was only found out like a year ago. But he's cool with my dad and all that stuff. But he doesn't have any issues. But has an issue with Southern Kingdom, has an issue with Northern Kingdom, Latinos and Native Americans, which is interesting because I grew up having that. My dad grew up having that. So that is a small sign. But again, there's a brother, I think he was out in England, and he's, quote unquote Turkish, right? And he kept on trying to tell his dad, who's a very much Turkish acting and looking man, that look, we're not Turkish, we're Israelites. And his dad was not having it. All right, matter of fact, I can go and try to find you that video. Am I a black Hebrew Israelite? This video's like this. Am I a black Hebrew Israelite? Because obviously he's not black, so what is he? Am I a black Hebrew Israelite? I'm not black. So what am I? I can't find it. It's been years. They try to hide these videos. But yeah, man, so just, it doesn't matter if your father, was, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if he was shot 3 black people back in the day and he ran with the Klan. That guy could be fucked up out of his mind, man. That guy could literally be fucked up out of his mind. All right, gone, lost. All right, and from the sounds of it, seems like he probably is. All these moon cricket babies, all these different type of things, calling you and your black side of the family racial slurs and stuff. That doesn't stop him from potentially being a Jake. He could just be really fucked up, right? He could be really, really, really fucked up, right? And that could happen, right? So let's get some scriptures. Let's get your other thing. Let's continue on. As I'm saying, this is a black E, but I still admit the truth. An Edomite would never admit the truth. It says, all I can do is just sit back and learn from the true pals of Yahweh or God, as you say. But you say Yahweh Shem Yahushai down there. It says, till they shut this down. Thankfully, I ain't got no more Edomite kids, so once I'm out, at least I've done my part. Well, again, you're severely misled. It says, all I'm hoping is if I'm in the kingdom, y'all ain't going to punish me even more because I already know y'all is the one in truth. Well, if you're an Edomite, which I don't think you are, it don't matter what you do. I mean, your ass is going to get it, right? It says, all praises, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash. Right? And again, it's really going to be at the discrepancy and leniency of who owns you in the kingdom. Some, might, keep killing your ass and bringing you back to life. All right. Some might just have you working as a field slave. Some might have you doing something else. Right. It's, not everyone's going to be the same. But you say Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Rakak Wadash, which is, it should be Barakatha Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash. Or, okay. All praises. Yeah. Okay. All right. So really, you could say call. You could say call, which is all. Okay, so call. Then you do halalium. I think that's how you pronounce it, which is praises. All right. La 2. So it'd be call halalium la Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash. That's what you, or call halal Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. But it's fully, it would be call halalium Yahweh Ba'ashem, call halalium la Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, which is all praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. So that's your comment on this page. Now you got another one over here, and this is the more significant one. Okay, you got a lot here. This is from DLS. All right, April 16th, 2026, reincarnation is very much a part of the gospel on various topics. And you asked the apostle, again, this is Apostle Gabar's page that he's on, and he said, Shalom, Elder Apostle Gabar. If you're an Edomite, first of all, you wouldn't have said Shalom, you wouldn't have came disorderly. You would have been like, hey, you fucking false prophet. See how the Edomites act when they're on the apostles' page. They don't come orderly, okay? You came orderly. That's not Edomites don't come orderly. All right, you black sons of bitches, fucking teaching hate. That's what an Edomite would do. That's what an Edomite would do. You didn't come like that. All right, you came orderly. So you said Shalom Elder Apostle Gabar, and you even gave him his title. You didn't say Shalom Gabar. All right, even Jake even be doing that. You actually gave him his title, Elder Apostle Gabar. That's a good sign, right? So that you're showing respect. An Edomite would never show respect to an apostle. Just saying, they would not. You want to see how an Edomite would act against the apostle? Go and look at Vocab Malone, right? There's a great example. It says, is it possible for a Jake to be reincarnated and come back in their spirit as an Edomite, born to an Edomite father and an Edomite body, like a punishment for something they did before? Absolutely. I think that's what happened to me, all right? I think I was a house slave, man. I think, yes'm, I do love me some you, sir, yes'm. I think that was me, all right? And that's why when I woke up in the truth, I woke up in the truth of living while I was living with Edomites, and it felt like a living fucking hell, okay? And I believe in sincerity that was part of my punishment for being a coon, okay? Being a coon in my past life, and some of this life, being a coon, right? Showing out for the white man, right? You don't want to do that. Again, you have a lot of these people that are coons, and they don't know they're Israelites, but they love the white man. But some of those people are Edomites, and that's why they love them. And some of those people are just fucking coons, man. They got Stockholm syndrome. Look that up. We'll do it. We'll actually do it. Stockholm syndrome. Stockholm syndrome is a psychological response where hostages or abuse victims or slaves, I'll just insert that, develop positive feelings, empathy, or dependency towards their captors and abusers. And they say as a survival mechanism, right? That's not really even a survival mechanism. It's a fucked up neurological disorder. But you said, can they come back in their spirit, but as an Edomite? You wouldn't come back as an Edomite, all right? You would be born to an Edomite-looking father and an Edomite-looking body. Okay, you're not literally an Edomite. You come back looking like an Edomite. You come back to a father who looks like an Edomite, all right? And you being in that have a Edomite-looking body, like mine, all right? Again, to give you reference, look at the wrist, right? I'm leprous, right? I'm very leprous. So, the apostle says, yes, we teach that you will have looking, and you're not really listening too much, Howard, all right, with what he said, all right? I think you got that fear on you, but anyway. Yeah, well, if I'm not listening, maybe I'm Edomite. No, there's Jake that don't listen, okay? Plenty, actually. Daily Edification 4, apostle says, yes, we teach that you will have Israelites looking like Edomites. Also, you will have Edomites looking like Israelites. So you're going to have black looking, very dark skinned, Wesley Snipe looking Edomites that go back through their father, not by look, but their bloodline. Again, it's you gotta judge them by the spirit, okay? And that's not always just with how they act. Sometimes you really gotta examine them. Sometimes it can be hard to judge an Edomite right off the bat. Sometimes it's revealed immediately, okay? Sometimes with Jake. Sometimes I've seen some. Well, not Jake. Sometimes with black people, using the covering cast, that's what they call our people, black people, Mexican people, right? But sometimes you'll see black-looking individuals, and you'll talk to them, and be like, this person's an Edomite. Sometimes not even Edomite. I've had some people I say, they're not an Edomite, but I don't think they're Jake either. They're probably a Hamite or something else, right? So, again, that could be part of your process. You need to learn how to identify an Edomite. Really, you'd have to be around them. And, once you have the spirit on you, once you really come in this truth and you start learning more, it's something that Yahweh Shemiah Shai puts on you. You can just get a feeling. You just get a feeling, right? For example, that guy that did that song, I'm 50-50 with it. There's a God am I in need of might. Let's see. This one. And I like the song. I'm gonna be for real. I fuck with the song. There's times I'll be, walking around the house and I'll just, God am I in need of might, right? And even some of the elders mentioned that they dug the song. I think somebody mentioned it too, that this guy might not even be an Edomite. right? He looks like but you can't go off of appearance, but sometimes appearance can be a what's the word? It can be a hint. Okay, now again, appearance is not definitive. Okay, because you don't judge off appearance, but there's a series that you go through. If you see someone that looks like this, you say, okay, might be an Edomite. Let's see how they talk, how they walk, how they move. All right, now if they say something crazy, okay, are they still an Edomite? Are they an Edomite? Are they more than likely an Edomite? Or, right? Because once you have things stacking up, like say they look like that, and then they say some Edomite-looking things, you might be like, okay, they're probably just an Edomite and write them off. But they could just be and this was the apostle was talking about, the apostle Tahar was talking about quite a long time ago. They might look like an Edomite, and they might do some Edomite things and say some Edomite things, but still that isn't enough to say 100% that they're an Edomite. Okay? Because, for example, if they were brown and they said that, would you still think they're an Edomite? No, you wouldn't. Right? If your father was brown, or you were brown, or you said you're a black Edomite, or however you want to say it, if your father was brown, or if he looked like Wesley Snipes, would you still think you're a black Edomite? All right? Would you think you're an Edomite? Or would you think that your father's just fucked up, all right, and he doesn't know who he is? Which one would it be? Because you'd probably think, he's just, fucked up and he doesn't really know who he is. But because of his skin color, again, you're going off of skin color. You can't go off that. Sometimes skin color can be a hint, but it's never, the stamp on the paper that is the final rule, right? And the apostle says, yes, we teach that you will have Israelites looking like Edomites. So you're going to have Israelites that look white looking like me, or potentially you. I don't know what you look like, because you said black Edomite, and then you said born to an Edomite father and Edomite body. So I don't know which you are, right? It says, and you will have Edomites looking like Israelites. Okay, you're going to have Edomites looking like Israelites, like the Hodge twins. Okay, Hodge twins. These guys are Edomites. All right. The stuff that they do is just very, very Edomite-ish, right? It's very Edomite-ish, and not just because they're conservative or whatever. They do other stuff. They got that DNA test, and they're like, we're white? Look, they're too, I don't know. They have some things that are funny. They're almost like Jake, but I don't know. I think they're probably more than likely Edomite. They could be Jakes too, right? They could be Jakes too. It's hard to tell, all right? And again, it's just a matter of opinion at the end of the day, because Candace Owens, I think she's a terror. I think that's an Edomite, but there's some things that she does that's kind of Jake, and I'm like, it's hard to tell. Okay? So, you're going to have some people that are just super coons, and they love the white man so much. And there's people that grew up around, 5, 6, 7, 8 generations of white people. And how do you think that, yo, what it is, cuh? I'ma fuck with you, cuh. Well, good, cuh. No, they're not going to be, hey, these goddamn immigrants are coming over here, and they're doing all that. That's what they're going to be like. Okay, that's how they're going to act. That's how they're going to talk. That's how they're going to walk. Okay, and they're going to, by all intents and purposes, you're going to think, oh, this person's a heathen. All right, but they're not. All right, their mindset's all fucked up. They're fucked up in the head, right? So the apostle quotes the scripture. He says, this is why the nation of Israel must be sifted among the nations. Amos 9:9, for lo, I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among the nations, like as corn is sifted in a sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. So eventually we're going to come back to looking right. Okay, we're going to eventually come back to look. We're not going to be in the kingdom with these, fucked up ass bodies. We're looking like an Edomite. That's not going to happen. All right. So I think I said, we were sifted among the nations. We were thrown amongst the nations. I said that incorrectly. I said, we were sifted amongst the nations. Well, we're going to be. We were dwelling among the heathen, and we're going to be sifted. Okay, from amongst the nations. So Slakia, correction there. And then you came back and said, thank you, Apostle. Does this apply even if Jake's spirit comes back through Edomite's man seed? That doesn't happen. That can't happen. All right, if you always come back in your lot, okay? If you're an Israelite, you always come back as an Israelite. All right, it says, does this apply if the Jake spirit come back through an Edomite man seed? See, you're getting hung up on it, man. And again, it's not because you're an Edomite, it's just because you're not getting the point. Just because you look some type of way doesn't mean you are some type of way. If your father looks like an Edomite, he acts like an Edomite, these dirty, fucking, stupid-ass jigaboos, I fucking hate these goddamn black motherfuckers, I want to slice their fucking throats, and he acts like that, and he's all these, they need to get him out of the country and ship him back to fucking Africa. That doesn't mean he's an Edomite. He could just be really, 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 really fucked up in the head. Gone, lost, through, fucking fucked up in the head, man. Fucked up in the head. But if you're understanding this truth to an extent, enough to call upon Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai and be orderly, I mean, it looks like you don't have that much information about this truth, but then you couldn't be an Edomite regardless, which means if that's your real father, it couldn't be. Okay? It couldn't be. He'd have to be, I mean, it couldn't be that you're an Edomite or it couldn't be that he's an Edomite if you're an Israelite. He would have to, even if he's fucked up, even if he's killed Jake in his past, even if he's a piece of shit that, all these motherfuckers, these goddamn black people, it doesn't matter at the end of the day, because if that is truly your father and you're a Jake and you understand, and it seems that you're a Jake because you're understanding this, you're being orderly, you're calling upon the name of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, you're thanking the apostles, you said you're going to miss when they're gone. Yes, that all signs and point to you being a Jake that's just kind of fucked up in the head because you don't know who you are. You have an identity disorder. Okay, you have an identity disorder like a lot of Jake has. My dad has an identity disorder. He doesn't know who the hell he is, right? Like a lot of people out there. We might have a white looking dad and he has a white looking dad and his dad was white, but eventually it goes back. Like for example, I go back to Scotland and I trace my name back, and my true last name, which of course I'm not going to give away, goes back to Brown. Or Brown and Lord, all right? Brown or Lord. So like Lord, Brown Lord, right? Brown Lord. You know who was dwelling in Scotland? Moors. You know who the Moors were? So-called Negroes that were in that land, okay? And that's why there was a Moorish, Moors were all throughout England. And mind you, we ruled over England, all right, as Jake for a period of 1,000 years during the Byzantine period, the Dark Ages, okay? And that's how they got all their symbolism and heraldry. The lion of Judah, Naphtali with the stag, or I think it's a stag, the deer-looking thing. And who else? No, there's multiple different ones. I think some heraldry even uses the donkey, the burrow, which is Issachar. There's a lot of stuff. So all Jake was over there. It wasn't just Southern Kingdom. All right, it was a lot of Southern Kingdom, but Jake as a whole was in England heavy, was in Scotland heavy, was in Ireland heavy. That's why the original Ireland, you see those signs that say no blacks, no Irish, no dogs. Why do you think they all lumped them together? All right, it's the same thing with the original Italian, the Sicilians at least, all right, were of Moorish descent, all right, and Moors were of Israelite descent, okay? And again, you're around those people. If you look at the people of Ireland today, you keep on going and going and going and going. And here you were a black individual, and you got with your, a pretty little white little thing, right? Who was an Edomite, all right, that came in that land at some point. And then that kid grew up, and he's a little bit lighter now, and he got with another pretty little Edomite thing, and now that kid's even lighter. And then one more generation, that kid's white as can be. He's gonna have red hair, blue eyes, pale skin, all right? And he's not an Edomite, but he damn sure looks like one, right? So it's the same thing. You might have an Edomite that got with a pretty little Jake thing, right? And then he grows up and gets with a pretty little Jake thing, right? And then he grows up, and now he looks like Jarquavius. He looks like Jarquavius Lamar Jackson, all right, with a big bushy afro, all right, big bushy.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Jaquarius Jackson. I'm gonna play football.
And he's an Edomite. But you wouldn't think he is, because his name's Jamarius. And he talks with a deep J voice like this, and I play football. But he's always last. He sucks. Can barely throw a ball. Constantly getting injured. All right, there's signs. But, says, thank you, Apostle. Does this apply even if the Jake spirit comes back to an Edomite? That's bugged out. All right, I'm not saying you're bugged out, but that's bugged out. That's not accurate. That's, says, so their father's an Edomite without any shadow of a doubt. How do you always have to have a shadow of a doubt? What's without a shadow of a doubt? How do you know 100%? Are you Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai? Are you God? Are you God? Are you? No, you're not. So how is there without a shadow of a doubt? He can call you porch monkeys, little jigaboos, moon crickets. All right, doesn't matter what he could say. I hate these goddamn black son of a bitches, these motherfuckers. I wish they get out of the country and be shipped back to Africa. And he could still be a Jake, just a really fucked up in the head one. Right? Don't get it twisted. Says, but the Most High brung that evil Jake back to be punished and trapped in an Edomite line. Well, yes, that can happen. All right, you can be an evil Jake in your past life, and you bring back now you're not trapped in an Edomite line, but you've been cursed with the leprosy. All right, you're a clean leopard, but your skin's all messed up, and you're joined with a bunch of people that think they're Edomites or think they're white people and they're not. Yeah, that can be a form of punishment. All right. And on the grand scale of it, that's a lesser form of punishment. Not lessifying what the Lord does, but the Lord could have come back, right? And drooling on yourself. Someone has to walk around you with that towel. I'm not making fun of them, right? They didn't choose to be like that. I mean, they did something horrendously wicked in their life, so I'm not giving them a pass either. But I'm not going to make fun of a mentally disabled person like that. I'll call you retarded. I'm not going to call them retarded. Not you specifically, Howard. I'll call someone else retarded, but I'm not going to call someone like that retarded, because at the end of the day, they didn't choose to be born like that. That's the thing that Yahweh Shem Yahushai put on them, and they're suffering through it right now. All right, I'm not going to add insult to an injury, right? Literally. But you could come back like that. You could come back, deaf, blind, and dumb, and just all you have is something that the Lord puts in your mind. All right, you're gonna burn up in this place, and you're not gonna be able to do anything about it and have no help. You're gonna burn up in this place, and you're not gonna be able to do anything about it or have any help. That could be the only thought, and you just want to be put to death. It's like Metallica's "One." Darkness has taken my eyes, taken my, everything. All right, and that was about a guy who was. It's actually based off a book, I think. But anyway, he had no arms, no legs, can't see, can't hear, can't speak. All right, so yeah, horrible, man. I think he eventually learned to communicate by tapping or like doing something, rocking or something. I can't remember, man. Something, but it's horrible. That's a judgment. You could be like that. It says, my mom. He said, reason I'm asking it's quite personal. I rock with the teachings of GMS, but my mom, Duke's Israelite. My pop. I think he meant to say my mom's definitely an Israelite. My pops is definitely an Edomite. He's not. How is he definitely an Edomite? Okay. By what you think. That's what you can't lean into your own understanding. He could call your mom, an N-word, a jigaboo, whatever the hell. All right, he could say, you dumb black bitch. All right, you filthy black woman, you big, gorilla looking cunt. Right? He could call her all sorts of different things and say, oh, and you too, you little jigaboo, and yell at you and any of your offspring and say, I hate you goddamn black bitches in my house. I wish you were born white. And that guy could just be really, 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 really fucked up in the head. Right? It can happen. All right. My mom is definitely an Edomite, or is definitely. You said Duke's Israelite. I'm guessing you meant definitely an Israelite. My pops is definitely an Edomite. I don't think so. All right. Either that or your mom's hiding something. I'm not saying don't have any animosity against your mom. Either that or your mom's hiding something from you, and that's really not your daddy. That's the only two options. Is that boom? That's not your daddy. It's the same thing. You're in the same lot as me, bro. Either that's not your daddy, and mom's is hiding something from you. Same thing would be my mom, or your dad's just really fucked up and don't know who the fuck he is. All right. At the end of the day, I mean, Paul was slaying Israelites, slaying them, slaughtering them, murdering them down. Anybody that followed Yahushua, killing them, putting them to death. But he was an Israelite, but he was a Roman citizen. Right? So, but he was a Benjamite. It says, he said, no question, he's not even a Jake in an Edomite body. He is straight up the worst type of Edomite. You don't know that. You don't. It says, them chief E-houses. No. His whole side of the family hate us, actually. But anyway, just wondered. Thanks, Apostle Dawada. So, his family could be fucked up as well. This could be a long lineage of going back. All right? Either that, or that's the only thing that could happen, because you're not going to be calling on the name Yahweh Shem Yahushai in sincerity. If you've repented, let me get a note. All right, when my wife first met me, bear with me, I'm getting hot. I got a hoodie on. Bear with me. Sweltering. My wife first met me. She came into the truth before me. All right, it's usually the opposite. A lot of these women like to come in after their men, and they're not really in it in sincerity. And I'm glad in ways that my wife came in before me, because now I know she's in this truth and really following Yahweh Shem Yahushai in her sincerity, and not just because it's something that I did. Because again, I came in the truth through Yahweh Shem Yahushai, through the things that she said and brought up to me. Again, through Yahweh Shem Yahushai. She didn't prophesy or anything. She just, suggested me things like, she was sending me videos a lot. But she thought I was an Edomite, right? Because again, if you look at the things that I like, I'm not overwhelmed. I don't really keep up with football. I have a favorite team, and Sometimes I check the scores occasionally, rarely, usually during like sometimes throughout the season, but I'm not obsessed. I'm not following the off season. I don't do any of that. No. I'm not the biggest football fan really at the end of the day. I like some of it, all right? But if you look at the things that I like, I do like rap and hip hop and some Jake stuff as well. I like, Soul, Cool in the Gang, and I like old Delta blues and stuff like that. But when my girl met me, one of my favorite things that I listen to a lot is a lot of heavy metal, right? Heavy metal. I used to listen to heavier stuff. I try not to because there's a lot of spirits on it and stuff now. Not heavy metal. I'll listen to heavy metal. But I used to listen to bands like Obituary. Okay? I'm gonna play a little bit of this. Okay, I'm gonna play just a little bit to show you this band. Okay, just to show you, this is the type of stuff I would listen to. And I still think that shit is fucking awesome. Just saying, right? I still think that shit is fucking awesome. It's just got a lot of energy on it that I try to avoid, but I fucking love that type of music, right? I think it's awesome. It's just heavy. It's heavy metal. I like shit like Blind Guardian, Demons and Wizards. There's a band, Blind Guardian. They make songs about Lord of the Rings. Like I like fucking Dungeons and Dragons, man. I like video games like Elder Scrolls, where you're a warrior with a sword in your hand. I like nerdy ass fucking shit. Now that's not something that's normal for most Jake. All right, again, you're not. That's not normal. Us being in this truth is not normal compared to what things are in the world. All right, we're holy. Holy means separate. Separate is not one and the same. Okay, we're gonna be different. Okay, and we're not all a fucking carbon copy of each other. There's brothers out there that are gonna like heavy metal. There's brothers out there that are gonna like pop music. There's brothers that are only gonna prefer jazz. There's some brothers that are gonna like country music. All right, there's some country brothers that are out in the country, all right, in big old red pickup trucks, all right, and wearing, all these type of... Slovakia, give me a minute. There's going to be Jake that's out in the country line, all right, wearing, flannel jackets, Carhartt jackets, driving in big red pickup trucks, listening to country music, all right, working on a farm that are not Edomites, but those are things that people consider, oh, that's more of an Edomite thing. Well, no, there's Jake that do it too. Dungeons and Dragons and heavy metal music and punk and skateboarding. Well, Jake does that too, right? You can't just go off of appearance and things that they like, right? I like some pop music. A lot of faggots like pop music. Am I a faggot because I like pop music? Hell nah, right? But if you ask, I like pop music. That's their favorite thing, right? So no, you can't just judge off of one thing. All right, judge off of appearance. Right? Or how they act or how they move. There has to be more of a whole. And why in a normal situation, yes, if they did that and then they look like that, people would lean most definitely with how your father acts, would be more leaning towards, yeah, this guy's probably an Edomite. But you're kind of breaking the mold. If you call upon Yahweh Shemiao Shai, you're being orderly and saying, thank you, Apostle. Shalom, Apostle, Elder Apostle Bar. I have a question. Can you answer my question? And then you're doing all these different things, then no, man. You couldn't be an Edomite. All right? Or you're just doing this all on the outside and really deep down inside, you're just not really with it. You're like, Shalom, El Apostle Bar. I'm gonna punk this motherfucker. I'm gonna see, this dumb apostle. Right? If you have that in the back of your mind or something, then, I don't know. If you're doing this all as a setup, then yeah, you could be an Edomite. But are you doing it as a setup? Are you setting this up so you can go and try to, make the apostle look dumb or make him, try to put some evil on him? No? Then if you're saying Shalom, you're using the ancient Hebrew. You're calling upon the name of the Lord in the ancient Hebrew. It doesn't matter what the fuck you look like. It doesn't matter how the fuck your father acts. You'd have to be an Israelite. All right. And if you start learning your teaching, all right, for example, with me, that was 100% because, up until I started teaching, I was like, what if I'm really an Edomite? What if I'm really an Edomite? You can't teach like this if you're an Edomite. Okay. You can't. So if you really want, without a shadow of a doubt that you're an Israelite, you want to use that word without a shadow of a doubt, then start teaching eventually. Then you'll know, all right, if you teach in the right way, you couldn't be an Edomite. Okay? And bear with me, I'm gonna grab a drink of water. This is going a little long. It's already almost an hour. We'll see what we do with it. I like to keep it short, but I'm probably gonna make one big long one. You said thank you, Apostle. Oh well, no, you already said that. And the apostle said, "No, an Israelite always comes back as an Israelite. Likewise, all nations come back as their kind." He quoted Ecclesiastes 3:14. "I know that whatsoever Yahweh doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it. And Yahweh doeth it that men should fear before him." Excuse me. So yeah. So if he does something, he does it forever. He doesn't change. He's not gonna, have you. Oh, I'm gonna make him an Israelite. Oh, whoa, wait. No, I'm gonna make him eat him out. Oh, wait. I'm gonna change him back. No. And then this is my comment to you. All right, that Lord willing, it brings you here. I said I'm gonna make a lesson on this. Lord willing, you're more than likely a Jake, despite what you think, as you praise the name of the Lord in ancient Hebrew. Again, let's go and prove that. Okay. Did I already get it? Did I get it? I don't remember if I got it. It's been so long. What was I gonna get? Oh. Oh no, I have it. Slakia. No, I have it. So let's get, first of all, for you, all right, Howard, all right, Howard Jerkins, this is your page here, Closing Generations, and I'm at you, so let me copy this, all right, it's Proverbs 3:5-6, verse 5 says, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding." Right now, it doesn't seem like you have that much of an understanding. Right? And I'm not saying it to be mean. It just seems like you don't have much of an understanding when it comes to this truth. And it's kind of fucking you up in your identity. You're having an identity crisis, thinking you're Edomite. You're probably not an Edomite, man. All right? Because again, as we're going to get in Malachi, you'll see. It says, "In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path." Don't try to direct your own path. Right, Howard? Don't do it. Don't do it. Let the Lord direct your path. That's your own understanding. Is that the Lord's understanding? No, it's not. That's your own understanding. And you don't really have that good of a scriptural grasp right now. Okay, I can tell by, the comments and things that you asked and the way you worded it to the apostle. Okay, it wasn't out of order. It was just not factual. It's clear that you don't really have a good understanding on it. Okay, so Malachi 1:14 says, "But cursed be the deceiver which hath in his flock a male, and voweth and sacrifice unto the Lord a corrupt thing." Right? So that's besides this point. That's, dealing more so with the chapter. But this is the point right here. "For I am a great king, saith the Lord of hosts, and my name is dreadful among the heathen." His name is dreadful among the heathen. When heathens hear the name Yahweh Shem Yahushai, they don't like it. They don't like to say it. Okay? They don't like to say it. They don't like to say it at all. Okay? It makes them feel icky. Right? It turns them on. Really, when you have a demon messing with you, that's when, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, Barak the Yahweh Shem Yahushai, Barak the Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Watch whether it's outward or you say it in your mind, these demons will go. All right? When I've had altercations that have almost turned physical in my head, why they're looking at me with malice, all right, and hate in their eyes, looking like they could swing at any moment, I just say, "Call all Yahweh Shem Yahushai," or "Call all Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Please remove this demon out of here. Don't let him come back. And please protect me and keep me safe. Babu Kasha, Babu Kasha, Babu Kasha." Right? That's what I say. And boom. Eventually they'll just simmer out and they'll go away. Right? So, these churches, they like holy water. You want the real holy water, it's the name of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Say that to a demon. You don't throw water on a demon. No, you say Yahweh Shem Yahushai, they'll go away. Right? So, let's get, to show you, a lot of our people are wicked, all right, and wicked in different ways. This is 1 Corinthians 6:9-11. All right, 11 is really going to be the point here, but it says, "Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of Yahweh?" Okay, in a good light, they're still going to be there, but either as 2/3, or if they're truly unrighteous and the unrighteous, they'd be heathens. All right, this is really dealing with Jake, but heathens, and they're not going to be in a good position. They're going to be in a position of slavery for the 1,000 years, and then after that, they're going to go into their dwelling places, right, and we'll still rule over them. It says, be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor fornicators, those are sexually immoral people, homosexuals and lesbians and so on, nor idolaters, people that worship idols that are not Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, nor adulterers, those that are, women that go and get with other men even though they're bound to one man, all right, nor effeminate, again, that's effeminate men, whether they're homosexuals or just acting like it, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, destroying themselves with, all the things of the world, nor thieves, that's point, nor covetous, greed, want, never satisfied, nor drunkards, constantly drunk every single day, day in and day out. When you wake up in the morning, you drink, noon hits and you drink, night hits and you drink, nor revilers. Reviler, I believe, is like a scoffer, I think. Let me go and check. Criticizer, yeah. Speak of someone with strong contempt, insulting language. A criticizer, right, of the truth, of course. Nor extortioners, trying to get money out of someone by blackmailing them, shall inherit the kingdom of Yahweh. And such were some of you. So, and these are just, some of the, evil people, abuse themselves, mankind, all these different things. Jake has done a lot of evil shit. And some, and such were some of you. But ye are washed, but ye are sanctified, but ye are justified in the name of the Lord Yahushai, and by the Spirit in the Spirit of our power. So it could be that you're going through the washing process, your washing cycle has begun, but your father's hasn't and potentially won't begin, all right? And he'll have to die in this place, and you could potentially be a part of the elect if you wake up and be saved. Or if you don't ever really get it, you could be part of the 2/3, still be an Israelite. I mean, you don't want to go that way, but, and be in the kingdom, ashamed for some time, mind you, but eventually you'll be you'll be an Israelite, a lesser level than an elect member, all right, but you'll still have everything and forever to enjoy it. It's just not the way you want to go about it, and you'll be on a lower tier, right? So you don't want to go about it that way, but it doesn't stop you from being a Jake. 2 Corinthians, not that you have a choice of if you go about that way or not. That's the Lord's lot, all right? You put that lot on you, whether you are or you're not, all right? Going back to that, what he said, it shall be forever. So whatever, the elect was predestinated before the foundations of the earth. He's not going to change last minute and say, oh, no, I'm going to make you an elect member. Never mind. No. But 2 Corinthians 5:18 says, and all things are of Yahweh, who hath reconciled us unto himself by Yahushua Mashiach, and has given to us the ministry of reconciliation. So being reconciled is returning unto Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. If you're following the apostles and you're trying to learn what they're teaching, and you're calling upon the name Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, you're in that process of reconciliation. Your father is not, all right, and that's why he's acting that way. If he is really truly your father, that is, right? So I'll close out of that. So John 7:24, this is a big one. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Okay? You got to judge righteous judgment, not according to the appearance, not how hard you look. And actions have an appearance too. All right? They could appear like they really hate black folk, but they're fucked up in the head. Right? They're fucked up in the head, man. So 1 Samuel 16:7. All right, for example, when I was hanging around Edomites back in the world, I used to make racist Jake jokes, right? Towards Jake all the time, all right? Well, not at them literally, but, you hang around Edomites, it happens, and, you try to fit in if you have a fucking identity crisis, right? As a lot of, I'm not putting every speckled bird into that, but, and of course, a speckled bird, my heritage is likened to me as a speckled bird. You can look that up. That's talking, we're all different shapes, sizes, and colors. But not every speckled bird went and did those things, but almost every speckled bird has had some sort of identity crisis. All right, you're trying to figure out who the fuck they are because it doesn't make sense, right? At first, you're like, "What the fuck? This doesn't make no sense." And then once you come to this truth, it all starts to make sense. So 1 Samuel 16:7, this is a big one that we use. It says, "But the Lord said unto Samuel, Look not on his countenance." All right, what is the countenance? Look at this. A person's face, facial expression, or composure, okay? Their features, okay? Their expressions, which their expressions could almost go back to how they act. Or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For the Lord, it's like it. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. All right. So the Lord knows who you are deep down inside. All right. that's who it is, who you are deep down inside. Now, you think you know and you don't. Jeremiah 17:9. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Well, I know in my heart without a shadow of a doubt. No, you don't. The heart is deceitful. Okay. Good News Translation for Jeremiah 17:9. First time I had it up, but I never even used it. Who can understand the human heart? There is nothing else so deceitful. It is too sick to be healed. Right? And ultimately, that's why we're going to have to be changed in the kingdom, because we can't, be, and the heart is really synonymous with the mind as well. All right. And like it says in the scripture, the whole head is sick. All right. Now you come into this truth, and something, that sickening can be removed. But yeah, man. And the example I want to give you is Paul, okay, who was called Saul before he was called Paul, or as also being called Paul, Saul and Paul. But what nation was he of? Okay, he was a Roman citizen by birth and a devout Jew from the tribe of Benjamin. So he was a Benjamite on his father's line. He was an Israelite. Okay, but he was a Roman citizen by birth. He grew up in there in Rome, right? And let's see what he did. All right, at the time, we can see right here he was also called Paul or Saul. Acts 13:9. Then Saul, who also is called Paul, filled with the Holy Spirit, set his eyes on him. So now we know who Saul is. Now we know who Paul is. All right. And Paul was very zealous. All right. He was so zealous, as a matter of fact, that's what led him to do what he did in the beginning. All right. Because he thought Yahushai and, that wasn't according to Mosaic law. That's not according to Yahweh. All right. And, went and did what he did. All right. But, again, killed a lot of followers of Yahushai, which is very wicked. Have you killed any followers of Yahushai that you know of? Well, you're in a situation that's either not. If you have, then, well, you could be in a situation like Paul is. If you haven't, well, congratulations. Right? Acts 8:3. As for Saul, he hath made havoc of the church, followers of Yahushai, entering into every house and hailing men and women, committed them to prison. All right? Hailing men and women. What is hailing? Pulling or dragging. Dragging men and women into prisons, committing them. Isn't that really fucking evil? All right? That's really evil, wasn't it? What about Acts 9:1-2? And Saul, yet breathing out threatenings and slaughter against the disciples of the Lord, went unto the high priest. Okay? So even if you're fucking, I hated these black sons of bitches, I shot them. Right? Well, you don't know. All right? Because again, Paul was all fucked up in the mind. All right? And he eventually got corrected. All right? Well, Saul, also called Paul, he eventually, became a devout follower of Yahweh Shem Shai. Okay? But he was not in the right state at first. He was all fucked up. All right? Even the Lord said, Saul, Saul, while I persecute thou me. All right? And then let's go and get that. Right? Look, this is a great overview. Acts 9:4-5. It says Saul was actively destroying the early church, which Yahushua identified as his own body. Saul believed he was serving Yahweh by eliminating what he viewed as blasphemous heresy. All right, so let's go on through 6. All right, and Saul, yet breathing out threatenings and slaughter against the disciples of the Lord, went unto the high priest and desired of him the letters to Damascus, to the synagogues, that if he found any of his way, whether they were men or women, he might bring them bound unto Jerusalem. And as he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly there shined round about him a light from heaven. And he fell to earth, and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And he said, Who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Yahushai, whom thou persecutest. It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. And he, trembling and astonished, said, Lord, what wilt thou have me do? And the Lord said unto him, Arise and go into the city, and it shall be told thee what thou must do. So again, he completely switched up. Right? He was doing horrible things, killing people and doing all these different things, right? Another one showing that he did that is Acts 26:10, which thing which thing I also did in this is him admitting it, which thing I also did in Jerusalem, and many of the saints did I shut up in prison, having received authority from the chief priests when they were put to death. I gave my voice against them. So he caused many people to be put to death, right? So again, you can't lean into your own understanding, Howard, and think that, oh, I'm just an Edomite. I don't think you are. I think you're just a severely misled Jake. I feel like you don't have enough understanding of the truth, and I feel like you need to study more, all right? But I don't feel like you're an Edomite, all right? So, may Yahweh Shem Yahushai, if you're truly an Israelite, all right, which I think you are, but again, my opinion doesn't, isn't what adds up to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. My opinion is only what do they call it? A educated guess using scriptures, all right? You call upon the Lord, all right? You come in the right way. All right, you use the right names for the apostles. All right, you're gonna miss when they're gone. You got to be an Israelite, man. You got to be an Israelite. So, if that's the case, may Yahweh Shem Yahushai guide you and help you. All right, and help you wake up more and give you all the tools that you need to get this understanding better and ultimately end up understanding that you're not an Edomite. All right, so. That's that, man. That's what we got. I know it's a longer lesson. You can break it up into pieces, but Lord willing, it was edifying. We're gonna close out there. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Shalom, you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Until next one, Lord willing. Shalom.